Like helps with the type. Let's start here.
What about this topic? You said, I gotta make this meeting.
How's that? There's a lot of today's in there, but it's early.
I mean, I just upped you to co-host, and Rachel, I'm doing the same for you too. So you all
Awesome.
should have
Perfect.
all access. And you're at a security company, Beach. That's great. We will definitely have to connect even beyond this because I am finished my training course for CISSP and I'm hoping to sit for it before the end of this year. But I've been in the game for like 25 plus years with some element of security being in it. So I'm hoping it'll go smoothly. Oh, and Nikki, you're in Vancouver. Yes, security is definitely a hot topic.
Yeah, I feel like Blanca, Amey, and I have been talking about it for a while, and everyone is finally paying attention, which is good. So,
Mm.
Did we lose Ame?
Hi.
maybe. Hi, Diana.
Hi. Yeah, I was trying to play. I'm on my cell phone trying to play around with Zoom. Yeah, so I live in Dublin, California. I am officially an architect at my company, and security is very important. So, yeah, I saw this meeting and I saw some people that I recognize, so I joined the meeting.
That is great. Thank you, Diana. Yeah, I think we lost Ame. I'm looking to see if he is rejoined. He's driving deck.
I just let him back in.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Welcome back, Amey.
All right, thank you.
And Eric looks like he's closer to your area, Rachel.
Yeah, he's come to one of my boba events, I believe.
Oh,
Oh
it was a
man,
blast.
that is fun. Envious. I love boba. And Bindu's from Texas. Wow. All right. Well, I think that's good for intros. I know you rejoined. Are you okay to start driving or did you need some?
Yes.
Okay,
I think we can get started.
sounds good. Take us away.
All right. So I'm sharing the full screen mode, right? Everybody just want to confirm. Okay, sweet. Okay. So hello everyone. I'm Amey Kulkarni. I'm here based out of Dallas Fort Worth area, and I'm a CGL for Salesforce Architect Group. Nice to meet you all virtually. And I'm right now working at Entity Data as a Salesforce practice director, involved in a lot of pre-sales as well as some of the delivery projects. And I've been involved in the community since 2020 as a CGL. It's just my way to pay forward. I owe my success to the community, and I want to make sure that I'm kind of helping others, and we all are sharing knowledge and learning from each other. So that's a bit about me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm mostly active on LinkedIn, not on Twitter, or now it's called X as much these days. So you can definitely reach out to me. Nice to meet you all. Rachel, how about you give us a quick intro? Although we know you, but if you don't mind.
Thanks, Amey. Hi everyone. So I'm Rachel Park Brayboy. I lead the Los Angeles Salesforce Architect UG group. I have over 10 years of experience helping nonprofits with Salesforce. I'm also a passionate security awareness advocate. So I recently achieved my ISC2 certified in cybersecurity certification. And although it is no longer offered, which is unfortunate, because I think it's actually a very important certification to have, is I also proudly earned the Salesforce Security and Privacy Accredited Professional credentials. So rest in peace. Oh, and I'm a Twitter exile, so find me on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Rachel. Blanca?
And I'm the one who needs to get off the Twitter X thing. Blanca from Chicago. I've been in the ecosystem for probably 13 years now. With that said, I'll say it's only been since 2018 that I've been engaged with community and actually meeting people. So I was leading an implementation in the nonprofit space, but I didn't know any great people who were sharing resources. I didn't go to any meetings. And when I got into the Rad Women program, learning to code Apex with them, that changed my whole world. And that's why I'm here. Like Amey said, trying to pay it forward. The learning curve is steep, especially when you're doing it alone and without Trailhead and all the other resources and the great individuals that help out. So just trying to pay it back. And I briefly mentioned at the top of the call during our intros that I'm also looking to sit for the CISSP exam at the end of this year. I've been in IT for 25 plus, but I've been in the deep end of everything AI governance, AI literacy, leading conversations for AI strategy at my place of employment, which is DeVry University. And I also co-run Rad Women as a volunteer because there's a lot of need in that area and not enough resources to help people pivot into more technical careers. And I have quite a few credentials in the AI space, but looking really just to, share it with the lens of what does that mean for us in Salesforce world that we should be keeping an eye on. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Blanca. So let's take a quick look at the agenda. Very simple agenda. So this is a second session of the series that we started last month. And we would like to take a quick 5-minute recap and hear from Blanca and Rachel about the internal security as well as AI security. And then we'll have a couple of announcements, and then we'll roll into the external security topics for this session. And towards the end, we will have some Q&As. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
All right. So we have some quick housekeepings. First of all, thank you all for joining. As Blanca said earlier, and today is basically Saturday. We are taking time here to discuss and share our knowledge with each other. And I really appreciate y'all for joining this security focus session. Please plan on being on mute if you're not planning on talking. If you are, just let us know if you want to. And please be respectful of everyone's views here. If anybody says something that think that's technically inaccurate, please do reach out respectfully, and just we all are here to share our knowledge and make sure that we are basically helping each other grow. So please be respectful. All right, and we will have time towards the end for Q&A. So if you have questions, hold on to those, or if you want to post that, and then we'll come back to it. But we'll cover those towards the end if we cannot do that throughout the session. Okay, a quick announcement. Our dear CJ leaders, Blanca and Rachel, will be at Dreamforce. Well, I'm gonna put them on a spot. Blanca, Rachel, would you mind giving us a teaser about this session at Dreamforce? We are excited to join you all at Dreamforce, but if you could give us like a bit of a details what this is about, that'll be fantastic, if you don't mind.
Yeah, do you want to go, Rachel, or do you want me to dive in?
I'll let you take it, Blanca.
All right. So for those of you who caught this part 2 for today, you missed the whole part 1 a few weeks ago, but we're bringing some of that content to Dreamforce, and it really is going through the internal security and how you should make sure that you don't have your doors unlocked in ways that intruders can come in. And we do this inadvertently all the time. Not intentionally, but sometimes we make changes a little too fast. We don't do enough testing, and we have exposed ourselves to some vulnerable spaces. And so the talk is really going through what was in part one in a very short, kind of condensed area, and then looking at the AI lens. So some of the tips that I'll be sharing on this, we cover more in depth, and talk a little bit about vigilance as well, and how to be safe in this day of being a professional or a customer in the Salesforce ecosystem today with AI.
Awesome. Thank you, Blanca. I'm definitely looking forward to meeting y'all there. Awesome. So we will take a photo for everyone. Let's get ready. We'll give everybody a couple of minutes to plan on being, in front of camera. We'll go through a recap of next into recap for the previous session. Sorry, I can't talk. And after that, we will take a photo that will get everybody a few minutes to plan on being on camera in case you are joining from phone. If you want to join from your laptop, y'all can do that.
Blanca, what's the best way to get everybody on the screen together? I don't see a way to
I
do
think you
that.
could just do gallery.
Okay. I
Um,
guess,
Amey,
If you stop
sharing,
sharing screen,
yeah, if you stop sharing, maybe we can
Okay.
get everyone
You wanna,
together.
okay, let's do that. So,
And
just
then,
really briefly.
I didn't know Saturday morning I needed to look photo ready.
oh no, I'm not on camera. It's very early here.
I think the screen share is still on.
it is still on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
All right. Sorry, guys.
no
that's okay.
problem. Okay.
Stopped.
All right.
Okay.
I
You want to
think,
count us down, Blanca, and then I'll hit the
yep.
button.
Yeah. About 3, 2, 1, cheese.
Okay, I'm going to do another one. Okay, count us down again, Blanca.
3, 2, 1. Ohana.
Okay, I got a couple there. Thank
All
you.
right. Sounds good. Take us away,
Awesome.
Amey.
Thank you. All right. Now, next, Rachel, Blanca, if you don't mind giving us a quick recap of what you all discussed last week, that way we get a gist of internal security, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Amay. So let's kick things off with one of my very favorite topics, internal settings, which are extremely important, especially now. Next.
Yep. One sec.
No problem. Yep. So I just want to start with this quote from Lee McGowan here. I think it's just really foundational and fundamental to what we're talking about. And so the three of us have been speaking about this for quite some time, the importance of security. And I think with AI, security is actually even more important. So OWD, record level access, I think we take a lot of it for granted, but it's even more important now. So thank you to Lee McGowan here for this quote. Next. And so I just want to do like a high level overview of the slides I shared from last time, but these are really foundational settings to be aware of. So your sharing model, which just defines what records a user can see. So that's OWD, which is your baseline record-based visibility, role hierarchy, sharing roles, manual sharing. Profiles defines how a user sees information on the screen, and these are assigned layouts. And then permissions define what a user can do. So permission set groups with permission sets organized by persona um, gives access to objects and fields, system permissions, and apps and functionality. Okay. And then I know everyone's seen this inverted sharing model, excuse me, inverted triangle for sharing. So just we really start at the bottom. So the OWD, which is the absolute baseline, the most restrictive access is private. Then you could have public read only, public read write. Special objects may have transfer, like cases or leads. Then you move up to role hierarchy, which opens access vertically. Sharing rules opens access horizontally if you're on the same level. And then you can have manual sharing, which opens up access flexibly. I just want to note if you have public read write, obviously you're not going to need manual sharing because it's already wide open. And then on the right, just an example of organizing permissions by persona. So say you have a customer service rep, you would then have a public group called for customer service reps, and then the group with the same persona name is used to assign certain settings. So record sharing rules, list views, queues, email templates, and report folders are just some examples. And next. And as we all know, Salesforce is really advocating for a permission set led security model. So I get this question a lot, what should be on profiles and what should be on permission sets? So profiles will have very little, but they're not going away altogether, right? So record type defaults, app defaults, page layout assignments, login hours, IP ranges, and password and session settings. The recommendation from Salesforce is to use the minimum access profile, clone that as a base, and then customize from there. And then for permission sets, that's where really your permissions should be. So system and app permissions, object and field permissions, connected app access, Apex classes, visual force pages, record types, not default, that has to be on the profile, apps, tab settings, and custom permissions. Thanks for letting me recap on it.
Yeah, so now let's talk a little bit about security with a special lens on AI. And this is not to get overly technical, right? This is more to create an awareness on why we need to spend more time in understanding that this is a shared responsibility. So looking at these statistics, there's the bottom two that I want to spend some time calling out, because what they tell the story of is that we're deploying powerful tools, but we don't have enough guardrails, and we don't have yet enough expertise in talent who know how to build or secure these systems very well. And the point that I'd like to make here, and this goes back to a lot of the work that I've done in the Salesforce DevOps space, is demystifying that this is not just a tech issue, right? This is not just a specific team member's issue. This is actually an organizational one. It's one that affects everyone who's on the call today and everyone in our society who's interacting with these systems that are powered by AI. So really, AI is very powerful, but a lot of times we're finding ourselves flying blind, and that is why we want to make sure that we spend time going over some of these topics. Amey, if you can advance one.
You got it.
So spending some time thinking through governance and its importance in this day and age of Salesforce with AI is really about understanding who's responsible for what and how we make decisions around AI, and how AI is making decisions on our behalf in the workflows and how we program it. So coming down to this, there is a real need for anyone who is building, implementing AI use of any tool. This is even outside of the Salesforce ecosystem, of understanding that there are some top high level principal pillars that we need to have in place. And the first one is AI governance and the frameworks. Now, what I've learned in the past year of leading initiatives in this space and building out AI governance frameworks is that while there are a lot of questions, I'm like, where do I begin to start developing an AI framework that would be useful? And well, there's some templates out there, like by the NIST has an AI risk framework that's very good. And NIST is the National Institute on Standards and Technology. There's some that are being put out by IEEE.org. I just got certified in the ISO 400 and what is it, 42001, which is another framework around AI management systems. And what I've learned is these frameworks are all much needed, but they are not frameworks that you can just step into with a one size fits all, right? Meaning that one framework is not necessarily going to be the right for your company or your team or the AI systems that you're building. So taking some time to become aware with what frameworks are out there that can help you, so that you're not starting from scratch and you're not flying blind developing a framework and don't know if it's going to be successful or not. Use the templates, but make sure you're tailoring them for your team and your company. And they should be addressing, justice, data quality, and autonomy, to make sure that we are proceeding, within legal, regulatory, compliance, and most importantly, ethical footsteps. And the second pillar here is to talk about these ethical principle and guidelines. The US, because most of us are from the US. There is the AI Bill of Rights. However, I'd like to do a call out that we are actually the ones that are like the lowest in regulations and policies. I would say if you're looking for a leader who is putting out a lot in principle and guidelines and policies, go look at the EU because their act is actually the most robust and protective. And, they have a high level for respect for human autonomy and prevention of harm, fairness and explicability. And a lot of people are like, well, what do you mean by explicability? It's really in transparency and explaining how decisions are being made. It's not enough to say, oh, this is what an AI or LLM decision that the system made, but you have to really drill down and understand and have documentation to say this is how it derived at making the decision. This is why it made that decision. And policies change from one geographic area to the next, and even in the US, from one state to the next. So if you're looking for a resource, I would suggest IAPP has a really great AI policy tracker. And they have a global one, and you can drill down for US state by state if you want. But really, safety and transparency and ethics and trust are not going to be brought by these systems, right? It's the people and how we build them and how we use them and how we're introducing whatever workflows are being AI powered to engage with others. It's us who build the trust, and it's a shared responsibility for everyone on this call and even beyond. The other thing I like to highlight is that organizational buy-in and leadership will make or break your success in this space. And the most important thing that I do, and I spend a whole lot more time in, is educating stakeholders, educating those that are sitting in C-suite positions, educating those that are within the tech departments or the departments that are building and implementing products with AI or systems that are supported by AI, and really making sure that everyone is on this same page in understanding that it's all of our duties to be responsible and ethical in our use, and to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to dot our I's and cross our T's and understand, what does governance look like. And then the last pillar is compliance management. So integrating AI security with existing compliance standards. One of the things that I spent a little bit more time on in the last session, but not in this recap, is also looking at governance, right? Around data and security. AI governance isn't in a silo. All of your governance, whether it's on the data side, security side, AI side, needs to wrap under one umbrella and have a unified messaging and standards and processes and how you're approaching and how you are governing these systems. Next slide, Amey. So here, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these step by step because Salesforce does a really good job about holding webinars. This deck, actually, this slide came from one of the events that they did, I want to say maybe about a month and a half ago, via a LinkedIn Live event. And so, these are 6 of their security steps that will help you prepare for using Agentforce. I think that it's excellent guidance. If this is newer space to you and you haven't seen this yet, the shared deck that we have has links to resources. So I would encourage everyone to spend some time in going through the content on Trailhead and the security modules, specifically as it relates to their products that are AI and ML powered. To make sure that you're owning your role in this community of building systems. So these are 6 high-level tips to keep in mind. If we can advance one more, Amey. Now, AI security best practice, if I had to boil this down, and again, I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time reading each and every one of these because there are recordings and there are documents and there are Trailhead modules to support this. But if I had to tell you what should be a takeaway, what is the boiled down need to know, and a few of the guiding principles would be, I alluded to in the previous slide, owning your role in the shared responsibility model. Don't assume that because Salesforce is a SaaS platform that the SaaS vendor, meaning Salesforce, is handling everything in the areas of security and compliance, right? If you're putting your data into a system, if you are making configuration changes, whether they are on the declarative side or they're on the pro code side programmatically, it's everyone's responsibility to govern and make sure that we are being responsible and test negatively. Break your system. Break it before somebody else does. Expose areas that need to be locked up before someone else does. Nobody wants to be one of the headlines, and they're coming out week by week, and it's not a very good sight. And so take initiative and make sure that you have adequately planned for testing, and most importantly, on the negative side of it, right? Not how smooth it works. I mean, that's always nice to know, but if you cannot break it and if you're not inadvertently having too much access on some of your agents, that in turn gives too much access to information on somebody who's interacting with it, that's what your end goal should be. And remember that these AI agents, they're not magical. They're not some kind of unicorn or bulletproof. They actually need just as much governance and training and oversight as a human, teammate coming on board. You got to make sure that they understand what the policies are, what your standards are, that they're following within the company's means of the guardrails and best practices on how to move forward. And when that is ignored and you don't have a new teammate that's skilled up, well, the same thing happens with AI agents. Next slide, Ame. So on this one, I just wanted to share with you. So Rachel and I have been a part of what's called the Low Code Security Alliance. As a founding member, we released a white paper, and it's a collective of various Salesforce ecosystem experts globally around, any area. We have great folks like Matt Myers, who's been a part of it as well. But really, I do want to spend some time on this because I think this is some of the fluffy tips that we don't get from Salesforce. These are coming from people in the ecosystem who are supporting customers that, have weak areas. So one, or number 9 in this case, is own the shared responsibility model and demand better observability and governance. I'm spending a lot of time on governance here because it's not something that comes first nature for us, especially as teams sometimes are smaller or the people who are owning the CRM are not from, let's say, a tech background or a regulatory and compliance background. And maybe they're from marketing and they have to own the system that they didn't know they have to think about all these other areas. So make sure that demanding better observability and governance is top of mind. Ensure your trust layer utilization. Implement rigorous negative testing. I mean, that one should have a big red star on it. And establish cross-disciplinary oversight. Ask questions. Be that inner 5-year-old, but be that inner 5-year-old who is really choosing to challenge, right? And not in a negative way, but so that your team is getting ahead of the game and understanding what are the areas that are not working so well that need to be tightened up, and making sure that you're not taking it lightly, that you're actually doing your due diligence to stay secure and ethical. And stay agile with the platform updates. There's even more updates when it comes to the data cloud space and use of AI tools in the Salesforce ecosystem outside of the 3 releases a year. I mean, I think they're coming out every other week or every week sometimes. So making sure that you have processes in place to support you as you need to make changes to your agents in Salesforce with the changes that are coming out from Salesforce. And then 16, treat agents as virtual employees. They are not any different. And if you don't take time to train and invest in your people, and if you're not taking time to invest in building out these agents, well, you are flying blind and it's not a good space. So thank you so much. That is a wrap on the recap.
Thank you, Blanca, and thank you, Rachel. This is really helpful to understand the foundation of Salesforce security and also some of the aspects and thought leadership that you provided, Blanca, on the AI and how we can start thinking about planning our security so that we start building that quality into the product, not just go reactive. Well, this happened with the agent. Now what should we do? Like instead, we should start thinking about it from the beginning. So appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now let's start diving into some of the external security aspects. So say in Salesforce, you have two major big rocks. Like one is the internal security, and that's for your internal employees, your Salesforce users. And then comes the external security or customer identity. That's as a set of or suite of features that allows you to kind of fine tune some of the aspects when you're interacting with partners and customers. So let's move forward. Yeah, so it's one of the crucial concepts for architects and also tech leaders. So even if you are non-technical, hands-off, but if you are planning a roadmap, be it a product manager, product owner, these concepts are important to you. They not only improve the security, but also overall help you in building a better user experience, which ultimately helps you grow your business, cross-selling, all other things, right? You know, bolster branding, all those things. So it is an interesting set of features. So let's take a look at that. We won't be able to cover everything, but we'll try to cover as much as possible in this session. Before we get into Salesforce identity, let's quickly take a look at some of the key concepts. Like we talk about SAML, OAuth 2, OpenID Connect. So let's take a quick look at what that is. So SAML, if you all know what it stands for, if you don't mind putting that in the chat, what does SAML stand for? Anyone? So this is one of the centralized concepts in online security. It basically enables access across multiple web applications using one set of credentials. Yep, Beach, you got it. It's security assertion markup language. It's XML-based language, which basically transfers information between the identity provider and service provider about the authorization. I'm sorry, I said authentication. I want to say authentication. And it basically avoids needs to store password in multiple places. Now let's talk about OAuth 2.0. Do you all know what does OAuth stand for? If you don't mind putting that in the chat. What does OAuth stand for? So OAuth 2.0, well, I'll just wait for another second. Open authentication, OAuth stands for authentication access, open authentication. Okay, thank you. So OAuth stands for open authorization. So OAuth 2.0 is an authorization protocol, not an authentication protocol. As such, it's designed primarily as basically to grant access to set of resources. So it uses these different access tokens to share the information across various roles, if you will. And it has a specific format that these tokens use. So here on the diagram, you see that there is a resource owner. So resource owner is basically a user or system that owns that resource and basically can grant access to them. Client is the one who is requiring that access, and authorization server is basically server that receives the access tokens. That access token is that's where everything is kind of centered around when it comes to OAuth 2.0 or 2.0, as some people like to say. And by the way, when we say 2.0 or 2.0, there must be 1.0 or 1.0, no? Anyone has used OAuth 1.0? Okay, so There was OAuth 1.0. In fact, there was 1.1 as well, and I think in 2012 it finally got completely retired or whatever. So OAuth 2.0 is a complete rewrite of OAuth 1.0 from ground up. So although it's kind of extension because it's a complete rewrite as if it's a brand new protocol, but it still uses the same concepts. And we all use OAuth 2.0 for various login flows these days. Okay. Now, OpenID Connect. So we started with SAML for basic authorization, XML-based information change. Then we moved on to OAuth 2.0, where it also gives authorization access using access tokens. OpenID Connect is an extension or next step. Extension is the wrong word. It has different interpretation. It's a next step of OAuth 2.0. So OpenID Connect, some people call it OIDC. It's also an authentication protocol, and it basically standardizes access using the ID tokens, not just so you got SAML, that's when you exchange the XML code. You got OAuth 2.0, you exchange the access tokens, and there are other tokens like refresh tokens and other things, but primarily access tokens. And OpenID Connect, you exchange the ID tokens, and it uses JSON. It's pretty cool to kind of use OpenID Connect and makes it very easy to interact with various newer systems. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now refocusing back on Salesforce customer identity. So it's basically an authentication solution or a suite of solutions. And it basically, as I said, it not only improves the security, but also improves the user experience. And it enables seamless access to various channels and apps. So we talked about user experience, and when it comes to user experience, branding is at the core. So we have various types of login pages. So when I think about an external user like a partner, when they want to log in, they can only see specific screens or they go to specific link to see specific details on that screen. Whereas customers, when they go to the website, they see a different set of features on that screen. So you have separate screen for partners, separate screen for customers. The login experience can change. So you can actually have different types of login pages. And each of these, they not only just give you the UI flair, but also the security features. You can add more. So default page as your starting point, just simple login screen, username, password, sign up. Discovery login page. So this is where you get into that passwordless login area where you can either say just show me the space to enter my email or show me the space to enter my phone number, and from there you can start working through the login process from there on. Experience builder page, that's basically a little bit more styling. It's more user friendly. It uses experience design tool, so it's a little bit more. It's better in terms of building branded pages quickly. And then lastly, the visual force page where you basically design everything from start to finish what you want. So it has even greater control on what you want to show on that login page. Moving on to dynamic URLs. Again, I'm not spending too much time, so you all know how these usually works, but with that XPID, you can have different parameters dynamically given to that site. And it also allows you to have various personalized logos, personalized self-registration pages, and so on. Now, let's say we are logging in as a customer to your experience cloud site. We talked about those features that we about different experience builder pages or visual force pages that we build. That's great. What if you already have a website where customers are already interacting, and now you are implementing Salesforce or Experience Cloud behind the scene? Are you going to change everything, all the login pages? There is a lot of overhead. Sometimes you also want to have an external facing application, and you want to authenticate everything using Salesforce. So right now, let's say you have something else that authenticates and checks the customers, they are who they say they are. But now going for you want to use Salesforce as the core mechanism because that's your centralized data for all of your contacts and all of your users. So in that case, you can use headless login. Uh, when we say headless, that head part basically refers to that front end screen. Usually it's head full. When we say head full, it's basically you control everything. Headless is just providing the back end mechanism to authenticate, and it's cool set of headless features that Experience Cloud Set offers. So what it does is, let's go to the next slide. So there are three different headless login APIs or headless APIs. One is headless login API that basically allows to check and basically log in the user. Registration API, of course, as the name suggests, if it's a brand new user, they are trying to interact with your app. And then when they say sign up through the app, the front end is still that app, but in the back end, the registration API allows you to register that user and it creates a user in your Salesforce system or Salesforce org. And then again, forgot password API. So this is a pretty involved diagram. We won't get super detailed into this, but key thing to know is basically there is a backend and then the systems are decoupled. So the client browser and Experience Cloud side are decoupled, and then the APIs basically exchange information on this. And you can of course add Pixies, little tiny. We have a separate slide for this, so we'll go to that. So PKCE, it's pronounced as Pixie. It's called it's basically again an extension to OAuth 2.0, and it is basically used to make it more secure. It adds another string to make it harder for anybody to decipher it so that it's even more secure when you are interacting. So again, really high level, think about this is whenever you are using any login flow with Pixie, it's more secure than not using it. Now we're gonna switch gears. At the beginning, I alluded to this passwordless feature when we are talking about different branding pages. We had this discovery login page that we can use for passwordless login. So I personally do not like to use passwords as many times. If somebody can log me in using just my phone, I'm happy with it. Let's say I log into a site, it gives me a placeholder to provide my phone number. I provide my phone number. I get a text for a verification code. I provide that verification code next, and voila, I'm in. It has all of my details. Everything is tied to my phone number as my starting point to log in. But in the back end, they verify who I am. In fact, since I got that text message, it also secures the multi-factor authentication. It's not just what I know; it's also what I have, which is my phone. So that's even more secure and allows to reduce some of the password-related challenges. Now, it does help the users thinking from the user's lens. They don't have to remember many passwords. Great. It's easy for them. They remember their phone numbers and they remember their emails. Great. But from the company's perspective, there is no reduction in some of the customer support overhead saying, "Hey, I forgot my password. Oh, I can't log in. I got locked in." All those things. So it's a benefit or win-win for both the parties. Okay. So how does that work? So when the user interacts, we basically show that login discovery page. Behind the scene, there is a Apex login handler, assuming it's an existing user. If it's a new user, there is a self-registration page that we show it to them, and then there is a registration handler that creates a user, associate that with a contact and account, and so on. And then that record is created in Salesforce. They send an email verification with 6-digit code. uh, the user enters that code to log in and start accessing the resources. It's as easy. Some of the applications, again, mobile applications, e-commerce platforms, they can make it really easy to use. And as I said, reducing password reset requests and customer service. So quite a few benefits. I think we covered a lot of this. I'm not going to go through this slide again. I think yeah, actually we talked about all of the points here. So just like that uh, login experience, now we had one of the points in our previous workflow about self-registration. So what that means is somebody has to create a user, whether it's a customer themselves or sometimes it's back office system. So in many times it happens that let's say it's a wealth management company, and an advisor onboards that customer. They fill out a lot of details, and then when they go through the whole new account opening process, and during that process, one of the admin or IT users creates the account and then sends an email. So it goes through a lot of churn. Self-registration is basically makes it easy because now customers can self-register provided they have some associated contacts. So we can put some checks and balances in place. And these days, this has become a norm. This is not an exciting feature anymore. Everybody expects it to have a self-registration regardless. So in here, we have quite a few options, and we'll take a look at those in a minute. So we can enable self-registration, customize settings based on the profiles. We'll go through these steps. I'm not gonna spend any time on this slide just yet. And some of the use cases are online communities, some of the event registrations. So this is where you are gonna get all of those, let's say, new leads per se. And then again, various types of customer portals. Okay, take a quick demo of some of these features. Let me see if I can. There we go. So before we go there, I want to show you this account that I created. I created this placeholder account in my Salesforce org, and that's it. I'm just gonna stop there. Why? Is because when we go through this registration process, as you know, these external users, they have two records, if you will. There is a user record, which is of type some customer community license, and then there is an associated contact record. So when we register a user, my registration user also creates a contact. And we don't want to keep an orphan contact that's not associated with any account. And then we associate, which is why we associate that to this placeholder account. The thing to remember is when you have these type of placeholder accounts, I would recommend either having some sort of strategy behind the scene in your registration handler to associate and change the right account. If not, regularly take a look at these type of placeholder records so that there is no large number of contacts associated with this causing that different types of skews and large data volume problems and sharing problems and all those things, because these things are so fundamental. All the other things, I think Rachel showed that inverted triangle, like all those things kind of start building on top of this. So we want to make sure that when we are using this, we are using this with care. Okay. Next, we will look at the site. And I should have checked. Y'all are able to see my Salesforce screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I would have rang the alarm if not.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And I'm first gonna go to this, I'm gonna go in your incognito mode. Oh, all right. So what I went to administration. Now I'm going to login and registration. Here you can change the logos, colors, which is cool. Now here, usually I'm gonna go with this default page. I should have started demo like this. I was testing it out and I did reset my demo. So you get to see what I was gonna demo next. So let me go to incognito window again. So usually the sites start like this, like username, password, login, blah, blah, blah. And then I've added some of my other providers for this, which I can use it using my SSO. We'll talk about that some other time, not in today's session. But usually I provide username and password, and if I need to sign up, it provides the sign up form. So what I want to do is I want to go with passwordless option. So I'm going back to my demo environment. And in here, you see this. Let me actually go to, yeah, I can zoom a little bit better. Okay, hope this is more easy to view in a sharing mode. So different login pages. So default page, we just saw that. Login discovery page. So these are the four different types of pages we talked about earlier today. So this is what we'll use for passwordless login, experience builder page for quickly building up branded site and visual force page for even further fine-tuning site. So I'm going to go with login discovery page. I can type any prompt message, but I've used a label in here. So whatever content I have in that custom label will be shown on that screen. And then I clicked on this create login discovery handler. By default, Salesforce automatically creates a handler when you click on this link, and it's usually for email or text. If you want to add anything more or change any of that functionality, you can go to this class, clone that class, and then make changes. Come back here and replace that with that cloned class. I would not go and change this class directly, although I could, but I won't. And then execute login as which user. So here it's just my name, is my demo environment. Usually you'll have some sort of like a specific user that you will use to process all these requests. The different providers that you see over here, that is basically, oh, I can control that from here. Again, we are not going to talk about external SSO as much today. As you're going through, you can always add logout URLs. If when your user says logout, you want to add your company's website so that they are again going back to your home page or something, you can do that. Various pages you can build. So let's take a look at this. So I've said instead of default page, which usually it is, I've said configurable self-registration page. And right now I'm only saying it's first name and email, which is what's happening. If I go back, if I say sign up, it only says first name and email. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna add last name here as well, and probably nickname. Usually I won't. I'll try to keep it as small as less information as possible. For this time, I'm just gonna add nickname and last name too. Again, I can click on this to create a self-registration handler automatically. Same concept. If you want to change any of the logic, clone that class, make the changes, come back here, select that class as easy. Verification method, email or text message. You can go either of those two. I'm going to keep this as email. Email is free. Text message is not free. For text message, you need to purchase an add-on where it sends you the text message, 6-digit text messages for this. And assign users to profile. So what this means is which profile I want whenever the user registers themselves, what profile I should assign it to them. So I'm going to assign customer community user. And remember the account that I showed you, the placeholder account, I'm going to go ahead and select that account over here so that all of them are associated, all the users and their associated contacts are associated to this account. There are 3 jumps: user to contact to account. So now that it's set, I'm gonna hit save, and let's go back to our page. And boom. So you don't see that username password window anymore. You see the custom message that I kept here, and then I can give an email that I want to give. And when I do sign up, now I've added nickname and last name. It shows all of those over here. I'm gonna quickly check if are you able to see this DuckDuckGo screen as well? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna use this email. I'm gonna copy it. This inbox is empty, which is cool. So I'm gonna go with some famous personality with Neil Armstrong. And for the email, I'm gonna use this email. Say sign up. It sent me a verification code because I'm registering that user. Let's see. Refresh. Oh, I think I refreshed. Oh, there we go. So I got this code. Let's get that. Verify. And done. So now this user is registered. I'm going back to my Salesforce. And now here you see Neil Armstrong is now created as the user. If I go to that user, you'll see what happened. It just got created. And let me now go back and kill that session. I will restart the community and I'll log in using that passwordless login feature. So now here, I'm gonna go back to this email. I'll use that email. So in the background, what happened earlier was it hit my registration handler. It processed the registration, created that user, associated the account that I gave with the profile that I selected in the login in the setup. Now, what is happening is when I gave my email, it used that login handler, and now it sent that email verification code. Back to this. Okay, this is it. And now I logged in using the passwordless login. I don't have to give any password information in this entire process. I only give my details and that's it. So here the trust is between Salesforce and whoever is that giving that email. Usually in the background, let's say if I'm a customer and I have that customer database in my registration handler, I can check if I already find that account with that email or not. If not, I would sometimes won't let them log in at all. So you can control a lot of things in that Apex class. Okay, going back to the demo. We talked about up to this point again, the headless login that we talked about. This is where you basically activate those registrations and allow reCAPTCHA and also create registration handlers and so on. So it's very easy to manage. And if you ever want to use reCAPTCHA, um, for I think Web2 case and other Web2 lead, it only supports reCAPTCHA v2, but for Experience Cloud site, it also supports v3, which is cooler because you don't actually see that. You can just use it and it's much more seamless and much more user friendly. And if you haven't used reCAPTCHA before, it offers score from 0 to 1. 0 is absolutely a bot. 1 is it's more closer to 1, it's more legitimate towards the real user. And Salesforce for Experience Cloud side, it basically says it has to be at least 0.5. If it is below 0.5, it automatically rejects it. If I put something like zero point 0.8 or 0.85, it's gonna start rejecting anything that falls below this threshold, saying, yeah, this is potentially a bot. I'm not gonna even bother letting it move to the next step. Something like that. Okay. Okay, and any questions? Okay. Now, flipping it back over to the deck. So we talked about SSO for external identity. So you all know what SSO stands for, how it works. You absolutely can use it for external users as well. In fact, it helps in terms of keeping all the credentials all together. This itself demands its own session, so I'm not getting into the details of this. You can even use SSO to manage various identities without letting them getting into an Experience Cloud site. So let's just for this session, let's just know that it's out there. We can use it, and we'll just move past to the next step. Some of the use cases we already covered. I don't think we are getting into it. Um, this slide didn't come through, but basically, my apologies. The contactless user is something, again, as a concept, it is it is a feature where you can create a temporary external user, and then when their customer user is qualified, then you can upgrade it to the real customer user. What it does is there are separate type of license in Salesforce. You use that for external identity. Initially you create that user record, but it is not associated with any contact. So previously in the demo that I showed, we had a user, a contact, and an account. In this case, it's just going to be a user. And then whenever they qualify certain states, for example, they actually purchase something from you, that's when you upgrade them to customer community user. You basically change the license type. And that's when you automatically get an contact and a user both. So that's basically that contactless user means. I'll make sure to add more details on this slide. I don't think it just came through when I was preparing the slide. It looks a bit off. Okay, so now we tied back all together, right? So we talked about different topics, and now we're gonna put everything together as a puzzle. We talk about login, how the login is secured, what happens behind the scene, things that we can control, along with branding. And branding also helps in terms of preventing scams or whatever. You'll see some use of logos. You see a font is off. I got an email from PayPal recently, and it had uh, a different spacing. It looked very similar, but it also looked a little bit off. So again, when I checked the sender, it was some randomized string of emails. So I could say, yeah, this is a scam. So all these things matter. All these things help you in various ways to keeping your org secure. It also helps keeping your customers secure, because ultimately your customer security means also your company security. So it's all tied together. Now, lastly, there is a feature called embedded login. So we talked about headless flows where you have those app in the front end, and then in the back end you handle the login using Salesforce Experience Cloud site. Embedded login is very similar. You can basically have you can associate that to the external websites. I'm not a fan of this because of that warning that I put in the middle of the screen. Is basically it relies on third-party cookies, and many times you will see customers have those, or new browsers have those switched off, and that's when it basically feels shy to meet the requirement. So know that this is out there if it fits your needs, but it basically all depends on those cookies. So nothing major on I don't have a lot more details to share on this embedded login, but that's something you can use to keep your cost low and also connect to your existing websites. Okay, are there any questions?
Yeah, we had quite a
Yeah, we
few.
had a couple in the, oh, sorry, go
Okay.
ahead, Blanca. I was just going to say that Amey, I marked them with a red question mark just so we could see them easily.
Got it. I see Beats. Shout out to Marlene. Marlene and I, we had a very great conversations as well. So yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic channel that she has.
Yeah, and she brings a wealth of resource, like so much wisdom there. And another rad women coach, and we got Nikki on the call too, and I know you have been as
Yes.
well, so thank you all for sharing. Going to the questions, there's one from Kurtesh from very early on, more
Mhm.
so around Salesforce Agentforce have access to metadata to look into profile accesses. So for this one, I mean, out of the box, I don't believe so. I know things change so fast with Agentforce and Data Cloud, but you would have to configure your agent to have additional access. They're more so looking to like provide access for data, but not so much metadata in terms of profiles, permission sets, field level security. So it can be done, but it's not like out of the box. And I would just say, caution in how you are building agents. I heard of one community member who told me a story of working with an implementation partner and in discussing building out an agent that was for internal use, not to be engaging with anyone external to the company, considering using existing permissions levels that was being in use by some of the programmatic work. And so, the question that you have to think of is, all of these agents, this is the start, right? We're going to become just as hairy as we are with how many flows we have, with how many agents we have doing what, where. I think one thing that Rachel covered really well in the previous session is this principle of least privilege. And all of your agents should be with the same lens of your users, right? Like making sure they only have access to what they need to get that specific job done. And I say this with caution because some people feel like because it's going to be an internal one, it's okay to give it, access to whatever. You really need to be um, responsible and cognizant of some inadvertent, unintentional malactors, right? At some point. So it's better to always lead with the least privilege in all that you are building. I hope that answers Kritesh for you.
Yeah, and just to pile on some more, right? Basically, now there are various types of agents as well. So you have employee agents, you have service agents. It depends on what you are trying to do. If you want Agentforce to create users or whatever, so think about Agentforce as more of an experience to interact using AI and in natural language. Behind the scene, you still have the features that Salesforce uses like Apex and Flow, so you can still access those behind the scenes. So it depends on what you want to do, Girish.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for that answer. So it is very helpful, like what profiles has a level of access, and we just go to the agent force and look at what kind of access they are looking for. My question was more perspective of where we were looking for the security enhancements and flag in the application saying, okay, this particular object is being given access in this month. So just look at it, something like that, where just as a security agent who is looking in your application and finding out the flags where it is happening and giving you the insight to your internal team to look into that manner.
Right. No, that's a good call, and it we can handle that in different ways. Right? Agentforce is not a monitoring tool. However, there are monitoring tools that keep logs in things like Splunk, or even if you want to use data cloud, that's where even monitoring data is stored. That's when you can use Agentforce to do analysis happening, looking back in time. If you want something, Agentforce is something not gonna keep scanning all the data that's coming in as we
Hmm.
speak. Because again, even if let's say we make that happen, it will be very expensive to keep running that engine for that, right? So it's more of a data trigger type discussion than an agent force discussion, because as long as we find something is off, we can fire an event and let people know. We may not need to burn agent force credits just for that, if that makes sense.
Okay, okay, that's good.
See, so
Hmm.
when data comes in, it's logged to the Splunk, and when you see a security breach happen, you can raise a platform event. You don't have to interact with Agentforce in that sense.
Okay. And in another point of view, when developers develop the application, they give a lot of accesses to the outs, like whenever they're developing any new feature or anything, right? So they just modify the various kind of access to the objects, fields, setting rules. There are many kind of things, right? So
Yes.
somebody should control. We know that there are marketing apps where outside check marks, a lot of other stuffs which are controlling. I was just hoping that if AI or agent tool which can monitor those kind of things and look at your environment and finding out what kind of flags are there, and let people or IT
Yeah.
team know, So those kind of features I was thinking.
100%, 100%. In fact, back in 2022, a bank in Australia faced a data breach, and that happened because somebody had not so secure credentials to their sandbox, and the sandbox had real customer data. So it again goes back to a lot of things. I mean, if you zoom out, load environments should not have real customer data. That's first. You either mask it or you basically uh, create a synthetic data there. That's one. But even if you do, like for example, in some scenarios, I've seen customers have full copy sandbox, which is basically used for UAT purpose that has customer data, but only select users have access to it, whatever that is. So regardless, we should always have security measures, even for sandbox. I worked with a customer where all of their sandboxes had to go through single sign-on, had to, even if it's a sandbox, which is, I think, a good security practice. If you want something that you want to test it out, spin up a test environment, but or don't use sandbox which has any data in it, something like that. So or a scratch environment, whatever. So it ties back to a lot of things. It's a good perspective, Kirtish. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you, Amey.
All
Yeah,
right.
we have I think three more questions, Amey.
Yes.
So next one is also from Kurtesh. What is the best way to control connected app security?
Connected app security itself has its own framework. You basically grant access to only specific users, but the entire framework is basically for managing that security. So I think connected apps, there is an option where you can say automatically give access, but instead of that, you say only admin control users have connected app access. You keep checking if they are using any data or whatever data they're using. It's actually very fine-tuned and very well designed framework. So first step, I'll say grant access to only specific users that you want them to use.
But also just
Okay.
don't connect them to leave them connected and you're not really needing them, right? Like if you need to decommission those connections, just connect them, right? Like like don't just have it, you had something, you connected it, years ago, but no one's actively really using it. Like do maintenance. It's like housekeeping, right? Go through and make sure that if something is not needed anymore, disconnect it and don't have it.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, you're saying the monitoring and maintenance is required to make sure how the pupils are logging regularly into the connected app to just observe the stuffs. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, and
Thanks.
depending on your company, you might get pushback from InfoSec, right? There's some connected apps, requests that may be blocked, right? So it depends on what security governance you have at your company and, what are their guardrails, right? So I would say fall in line, your CRM team should be falling in line with what your company umbrella security processes and standards and guardrails are.
Thank you, Blanca. Thanks.
All right.
Yep. We have a question from Rajesh. I think this was when you were showing maybe the password reset section on me.
Okay.
They asked, what happens when the user loses the phone number? Does the company have a way of secondary authentication other than the one-time code?
Yes, yes. So there are. So let's say a user is saying they have never set a password or a security question, whatever. The admins can create a temporary code and then they can give it to them. So a user loses a password. The way I see like a high-level flow happening is that user contacts the customer support center employee, generates a temporary code, gives it to them to log in, and then they can go from there. There is also a way for them to disconnect that uh, authentication method so that whoever is in possession of that phone, they cannot log in as well. So
Thanks,
that,
Amey.
yeah.
That was, I mean, I think I a little bit jumped the gun there with the question because there is an option of the email as well. So that's also an alternative with that. Yeah. Thanks for the info. Thank you.
Correct. Yeah. So basically, think about this, right? If you don't show email at all, or if you only show text and
Mhm.
only allow them to use it, and assuming you have a paid add-on for that because that's required. The admins have access to deregister that login method. So there are multiple ways you can go about it. Some people even may go with just like omni-channel. They may have omni ways of logging in. Somebody even have those Windows Hello, right? You can
Yes.
have all those things. So there all that you can reset
Mhm.
using code, as well as admins with specific access can reset that for them. They can basically remove that from that user. Uh,
Okay.
and they can also generate a temporary code which expires in 24 hours, or once they know that this person has used it, the admins can also manually expire that code as well.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks, Amey.
Sure, you're welcome.
And we had last question is from Beach. This might be you or Blanca. With tools on the client side like AI-enabled browsers, how do you view vectors like rogue prompt injection from an email or web page sneaking in? Say that prompt triggering a chain of actions to log in via passwordless and perform an action on behalf of the user. Oh, sorry, that was the end of the question.
No, that's okay. I was thinking about it for a second. I don't know if this hits right on the nail, but I mentioned at the top of the call that I've been working very closely with our C-suite level and other entities of governance within our institution. And one of the things that we've been working on is AI in the workplace policy, and how can you use it? How should you not use it? What level of data in what phases of the software development lifecycle, right? There's all these um, procedures we need to follow and make sure that we have these guardrails up. So one of the things that we do is um, we follow our InfoSec's lead. So we definitely go through a full-on assessment with any vendor. This is, any new tool that's going to be installed on any of the company's property, right? Within that, it needs to be vetted by our InfoSec, but we also need to like delineate these are the specific things that it's okay to do, and these are the specific areas where you cannot do with tools. And you have to go tool by tool basis because they're not all created the same. They're not all equal in their standards and how they approach, keeping things very secure. And so I would say be very cautious, right? And what Pandora's box potentially could be opened up. I know one of the things that we're looking at right now is with OpenAI, we have a pilot group that's been using it mostly within the tech side of the house, but there's a few business users um, that are leveraging the pilot, and the new agent functionality within OpenAI can very easily integrate into with other systems. And to your point, you connect through that, and then you could be giving way too much access for this tool that people are using in ways where they think, okay, only I'm the only one. But to your point, if it's prompt injected, like the hidden text within the Microsoft Copilot, they were embedding hidden text in the prompt. And so even without a user using Microsoft Outlook, they were able to do malicious things, right? So these are definitely things that you need to have a unified front, have a collective of experts from different teams, your data teams, your InfoSec teams, your regulatory compliance teams, and setting up what are the proper, okay, this is how you can use it, and no, don't do X, Y, Z. And I would say this is an area you definitely want to be very cautious with, um, you know, what you're integrating with and giving access to.
Right. And to pile on some more there, Blanca, right? So 100% right. And going back to your part about passwordless login, Beach. So passwordless login, you have two options here, right? Text and email. The whole idea behind that is having that structure of multi-factor authentication happening there. So unless you have the phone, you are not going to get the text. So it's not just what you know, but also what you have, which is this device. So right now I have this device. If let's say somebody, some basically they gave my email or phone number, whatever, they should also have to have access to my email or my phone. which is, again, each of these systems have their own fortresses of protecting their resources. So it's very hard. Having said that, one risk that I see is the text passwordless login is a paid one. If somebody keeps sending different numbers and those texts, your consumption limit on your org against that quota of text starts increasing. That may be potentially a cost risk to your company, which is why we have those reCAPTCHA option that we need to add there. Again, it's not well, AI is very new, so we still need to see what other gaps we need to fill as an industry. But at least if you put reCAPTCHA, passwordless login, you are still going in that security heavy area than not doing it. Hope that adds some pointers to the question that you're asking.
Thank you, everyone. Great question. Could you click a couple slides ahead?
Oh yeah, we have one more. Yep.
Yep. So, just want to say thank you to Matt, who has generously donated copies of his important book, Securing Salesforce Digital Experience, to two lucky winners today. So we'll select our winners after the call and announce it on LinkedIn in the next few days. Please be sure to thank Matt for his generous gift, and good luck to everyone. So this book is a must read for anyone in the Salesforce ecosystem and a great guide for helping folks realize that Salesforce data security is everyone's responsibility. Proceeds go to charity, and copies have also been donated to nonprofit Salesforce leaders to help them learn how to better secure their clients' data. So good luck, everyone.
Yeah, and I'll echo. That's a great resource. I'm dropping in quite a few resources. So links to things that we've mentioned. These are, maybe in our deck and all other things that you should look at. You will get a copy of the deck, and I think Rachel's going to put the recording up on the YouTube channel for the LA Architect group. Find us on LinkedIn, connect with us. And like I said, this is, an area we can spend many days, many hours discussing. It's a very important one. So, Beach and others, we welcome another conversation. We can do another collab and have more discussions around this because it is an area that is a gray space for a lot of folks.
And I think there's just some resources here we wanted to show at the end. Yep. Here's some reading resources. We won't go through all of them, but these are all just good links. These will be provided in the deck. And then I think Amey has one more. And these are tool agnostic. So again, these will be provided in the deck and the links will be clickable. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for spending your Saturday with us and joining us on this special Salesforce Saturday. Thank you to Amey, especially for driving this part too.
Yeah, May, thank you. Everyone was very excited and waiting for this one eagerly.
Absolutely. Thank you all. I appreciate that. And thank you all for your time. Hope it was some helpful information. And as Blanca, you said, we would love to have another conversation if there are any other topics you want to talk about, brainstorm, spitball ideas. I'm game. Thank you all.
Sounds good.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.